Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I've done a lot of videos talking about how the comic industry is not dead. It's still weird. People crop up going, somebody in the comments recently said, this channel has provided no evidence that the comic industry is not dying. By the way, when you're having an argument, you can't have an argument like prove that it isn't. Kind of arguments are weird. That's not how logic and it's just not how logic works. Um, but regardless, I answered that in the thread of saying, why do we know the comic industry isn't dying? Well, there's one big reason: history. Uh, why? Because we have seen things go up and down multiple times over the decades. In the 70s, there was a massive implosion. Late 70s. In the 90s, Marvel filed for bankruptcy and it was brutal. It was more brutal in the 90s than it is today. Absolutely, from a business perspective. People argue that fact. I was there. Many of the people who argue it were not born. I was there. It was absolutely a bloodbath. It did recover. I believe that the comic industry goes through ups and downs. I don't think that's a controversial statement. Interestingly enough, I've had lots of arguments on the other end of people saying, no, comic industry is it's better than it ever has been. It's not going nowhere but up. That's also impossible. Everything goes up and goes down. That's the business world, comics, it's all cyclical. If we're in a down state today, it means good news. It will go into an up state in the future. But bad news, at some later point in the future, it will go back to a bad state. That is that's it's as inevitable as anything. Death and taxes and comic books going up and down. I know there's not many people out there, but there are some people out there who believe that we're within a year or less of Marvel, DC, and everywhere else completely shutting everything down, and comic books, basically the only comic books available are the ones that are crowdfunded through Indiegogo. Well, just don't hold your breath. And then I would also say, don't make that your goal. Like that's a dumb goal. I just be successful on your own. Stop tying somebody else's success to yours. Regardless, I've got this viewer mail here. There's still got people who come in and argue. I don't. It's a weird point to argue. And if your argument is you got to provide me evidence as to why it's not going to die, that's not a sensible line of argument. That's ridiculous. Stop being silly. Anyway, this is a good viewer question though, because now I'm going to talk about something that likely is dying or dead. Hey Perch, this question is pretty simple. Are the days of Animal Man, Spectre, Dazzler, Phantom Stranger, well, I hope so in Dazzler's case, Question, etc., having their own ongoing title dead? Have such characters been relegated to prestige miniseries, team books, and season-based limited series, if lucky? And if so, do you think this is good or bad? I can see the risk-reward argument for limiting unpredictable heroes to only 12 issues at a time, but if that were the standard, we'd never have had things like Grant Morrison's Animal Man. Hell, until this year, we hadn't had a Swamp Thing title at all for about 5 years, and even this one was 10 issues, but was extended to 16, and that was goofy as hell, by the way. I think showing the flaw of limiting this series rather than just publishing it outright as an ongoing. That's how we got the modern masterpiece that is Venditti's Hawkman, after all. Okay, great question, and yes. So now I'll say something that is dead. We'll make the people who are anxious for things to die happy. Yeah, I think the days of the C list, and I'd go farther even, but by and large B list, those ongoing series are dead. Unfortunately, I think we're in a world where unless it's pretty much a list character, unless it's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, the Avengers, it's almost all going to be prestige limited series, shorts, 5, 10 issue, whatever it happens to be. And that list is shrinking, I think, really fast. I think that we're starting to get to a world where That's why I said I think the B-list characters. What is a B-list character? Is the Flash a B-list character? I wouldn't think so. And the Flash does have an ongoing, but I think the Flash is right on a tipping point where it's like, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure this title deserves an ongoing. There's a lot of conversations. That's not me, by the way. I think the title deserves an ongoing because actually, to work back to front, I think it's smarter to publish ongoing comic books, even if you're not sure if it's going to make it. This strategy proved very successful in the 80s. Things that were lower level characters wound up having a bigger life because there was a sense of reliability with the title. Miniseries, and I do think that there's a purpose and a point for miniseries. I think that events or short stories that really have no ongoing ideas, like if you're going to do a Dazzler story and you've got one story to tell, it's like she is going to, I don't know, migrate from disco pop to grunge, and in that she's going to fight. I don't even. I'm boring myself even with the pitch. If you've only got a very short story to tell with the character, then yeah, limited series, prestige miniseries, whatever it happens to be, it could be a good idea. But by and large, it's better to do an ongoing. It's better to cancel it if it doesn't work. I think then set it up as a limited series and try and extend it. This is what we saw with Swamp Thing, and it's stupid. Hey, it's 10 issues. No, it's 16 issues. I mean, I'm glad there's more comics. That's cool, but it's dumb. Why would you do this? And not to say the obvious, but very few comics these days, outside of the absolute A-list top groups, are making it to 16 issues. Anyway, even the ones they do launch as ongoing series are getting canceled. So who are we fooling? Just do it as an ongoing. It's better. I think that the right now, if you look over the solicitations, it's polluted with so many limited series and mini series and everything else, and it's sending a message to the industry that hey, everything is short term. Everything. Some people have interpreted it as the comic industry is about to die. It's why I started out that way. But it also sends another message, which is we don't have big ongoing stories. We've just got little pitches. That's all we've got. And as much as I think people have forgotten it, comic books, and I know you all hate this comparison. I've almost acclimated to Texas now. I didn't say y'all, but I said you all, and it was crammed together. I know y'all hate this. No, it still doesn't sound natural coming out of my mouth. Anyway, comics, to some extent, like wrestling. That's not the part people hate. To some extent, like soap operas. That's the part people hate. People buy in for the ongoing narrative, for the ongoing story. And guess what? Tom Brevoort, C.B. Cebulski, they understand this. There's been writer summits, and Cebulski has a pitch that he gives saying we are the keepers of an ongoing legacy, of an ongoing story that will never end. That's our role. Okay, so if you understand that, then stop making business decisions that actively conflict with what you're saying. And one of those is simply, stop making so many limited series, do more with ongoing, because all you're doing is teaching your audience to think short term. If you teach them to think short term long enough, they will eventually just dip out at random, unexpected ways, and your comic business will suffer. It's better to go ongoing. But the publishers and everyone else, I mean, you see these people openly question things like, should we even have comics anymore? Should we just do graphic novels? Should we do short stories? Should we do? And a lot of people have gotten very enamored by it. A lot of creators have gotten enamored by it because they've been, some fool put in their head that they would make more money if they did graphic novels rather than ongoing comics. That is not the case. I think most people have woken up to the YA deal was not a financial boom for everyone. It actually you mean I'm not going to become a millionaire if I get a YA deal? I mean, there were creators who straight up believed that getting a YA deal with Scholastic equaled they would very soon have Dav Pilkey money, and God bless them for having confidence in their own abilities, but that obviously didn't happen. Unfortunately, yeah, I think that the comic companies are only going to do ongoing series for things that they're sure about, and they're going to continue to play a very short-term game with everything else. And I don't know, that it's a shame. I'm disappointed with that change in the industry. I think it's harmful. I think it reduces value rather than adds value. I think there's plenty of financial business reasons that prove that and point to it. But here we are anyway. So, there you go. Anyway, let me know what you think. Are those days gone? Or, by the way, the counter argument is again kind of what I started with. Everything is cyclical, and maybe someday we will get back to that. Here's hoping. One argument against everything I just said. If I'm playing contrarian now for a second, it's that if you look at web comics, if you look at Tapas, if you look at Webtoon, if you look at a lot of these other systems, you will notice there are lots of ongoing comics there. If the future of comics is more digital, it's more things like that, then yes, things could swing back to B and C list characters getting ongoing series. They just won't be printed anymore. They'll be digital comics, which I know makes a lot of you insane, and I don't blame you. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks for listening.